let's talk about the long term when it comes to Apple and Netflix. You played a role on an Apple original show. That show, unfortunately, didn't last that long. Last that long. Certainly not because of you. But Apple is doing this original content grand experiment. Do you think that they can succeed where Netflix has when they haven't shown an ability to do so thus far?
I think the sheer amount of money that I'm hearing they're throwing at it makes me optimistic. You know, I try to spend a good amount of time in Hollywood and Silicon Valley and Madison Avenue. You get a real sense, and I think the sense, if you talk to any of your Hollywood friends, production and agents and things of that nature, is everybody understands that it's an Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Hulu, and who's the next OTT, Facebook kind of world, that the networks are in deep, deep trouble, and even the cable providers, and even with mergers, the sheer dollars that these internet companies are going to throw at content, the NFL rights, it's going to be an Amazon, Google, Facebook, Apple world in kind of fighting for that. And so, yeah, I would say yes. I mean, I think that programming, the IP, is what actually matters in the end. And when Apple, not if, has its Breaking Bad or Orange is the New Black or NFL, that it will suck people in because of the IP in the same way that so many more people watch Hulu and Amazon than I think a lot of people thought they would 24 months ago, predicated on just one hit.
You talk about, I know you say you're not an expert on short-term market dynamics, but we're all watching Apple and Amazon in this race to $1 trillion. Amazon sort of coming from behind. In the big picture, do you see more potential in one company or the other?
Oh, in a substantial way. I think the delta between Jeff Bezos and Tim Cook as a 2018 CEO is unbelievably substantial. And I would bet every day of the week on Amazon.
Why?
Because I think Jeff has just shown so much more ability to navigate the end consumer's attention, which I think is the ultimate value in society. I think that Tim, is an incredible guy, and I like a lot of the things he as a human and the company is trying to push to stand for. But I don't know, he's been the CEO now, what, 7, 8 years? I'm not sure, you can help me with this, but I mean, what, earpods? Like, I've not seen Apple win in voice the way they should have with the lead they had with Siri. The HomePod's still not out there. We've not seen them win an original program. It's now been 24 to 36 months that cat's been out of the bag. There's been no hardware innovation outside the earpods that has any blip of anything. And all they've really done is slowly just advance things that have been in place prior. And so I just, at least the way I think about the world, I don't look at it, the numbers and the ways in the short term and maximizing profit every 90 days the way everybody who watches this does. In the long term, what it means for consumers, Amazon, through a magnitude of things, has done a far better job of mattering to the end consumer and continues to gain leverage.
You mentioned the networks are in trouble. Have to ask about CBS, which is currently deciding the fate of Les Moonves after these accusations from a New Yorker article about crossing a line with women. Should he stay or go?
Well, if he's guilty, he should go.
Even after such a long and successful track record?
Doing the wrong thing is always the wrong thing, Emily. Like, you're only as good as your last at bat or the truth, right? We now don't look at Christopher Columbus the same way we used to after we looked carefully in all the things he did. And so, of course, I mean, I'm very aware, and listen, I love winning in business too, and everybody who's watching does, but if you're a human being that's willing to look the other way for money, you're not a good human being.
So, Gary, you've launched a new media men's lifestyle brand focused on the intersection of entrepreneurship and pop culture. You say there's not going to be any walls. There are no walls between editorial and advertising. What's the vision here?
So 18 months ago, I bought PureWow.com. I have VaynerMedia, the holding company's VaynerX. VaynerMedia is the agency, Madison Avenue, Mad Men. PureWow and 1:37 p.m. is the publishing side, the Condé, the Hearst side of things. To me, if you really look at what the BuzzFeeds and the Vices and the Refinery 29s did a half decade ago, is they kind of created Publishing 2.0, where they started to do creative work for clients instead of just buying commercials on TV networks or in magazines. The branded content world started to emerge, and you saw those crazy valuations for a lot of those companies. I think the continued evolution revolution of making content and getting people to see it contextual that brings the Procter & Gamble's and the Coca-Cola's value is what's going to happen in publishing. And we continue to try to innovate on creating original videos and apps and event marketing, things to help clients sell beer and makeup and deodorant.
Okay, last question. How are all of these, dynamics that we're seeing in social media companies impacting your investment strategies? What is hot right now and what is not?
I mean, look, a couple ways to look at this. For me, this is just real life. Facebook and Amazon are the two stocks all in that I believe in a 5 to 10 year macro. As long as Mark and Jeff are running those companies, I'm blindly in belief of how they'll innovate around voice, AR, machine learning. They just are CEOs that are willing to hurt their short-term economics to do the long-term equity for having legacy over short-term profit. I think the most interesting thing for kind of this audience and your show and what I grew up with in the mid-2000s on Web 2.0 and social media is there room for a Musical.ly or a Snapchat? Where is this next social network? And are people scared to do it because they're scared to be a feature and that Instagram and Facebook, Twitter will copy it and slow its growth like we saw with Snapchat? I'm most fascinated. Will there be another social network on mobile devices? My assumption is yes, but how? And then more importantly, my investment strategy is massively being affected by one core thing. I believe voice devices are the next iPhone, and the apps built on top of the Google Home, Amazon, Alexa, and Apple Pod are going to be the place where I come out of retirement and do early stage investing the way I did with Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr.